All right, today we're going to dive into something that's on a lot of our minds. How do we raise healthy, active kids? We'll be breaking down some really practical, research-backed advice to help you set the stage for a lifetime of wellness, starting right from those early years. Let's jump in.
So here's our game plan for today. We'll start by looking at the challenge kids are facing. Then I'll introduce you to a super simple blueprint for healthy habits. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of physical activity, clear up what malnutrition really means, and we'll wrap up with a crucial look at food allergies. First up, the early years challenge. The research is pretty crystal clear on this one. Early childhood is the absolute best time to build healthy habits, long before any unhealthy ones can really take root. What happens now truly sets the foundation for the future. And this chart, wow, it really paints a picture of why this is so urgent. Just look at that jump. Since the 1970s, the percentage of kids and teens in the US affected by obesity has more than tripled. That's a massive shift, and it shows why we need to be talking about this now more than ever. So, what's behind this trend? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle is diet. A lot of kids are getting way too much fat and salt, and just not enough for the good stuff, like fruits, veggies, and calcium. And because the little ones depend on us for everything, it really falls on parents, caregivers, and teachers to create environments with healthy food and safe places to run around and play.
Okay, so how do we tackle this in a way that isn't totally overwhelming? Let's talk about a fantastic tool that makes this whole thing way simpler. It's called the 5210 Blueprint, and it's this really memorable, powerful guide from the American Academy of Pediatrics that can help families build healthy habits every single day.
It all starts with the number 5. Then we have 2, followed by 1.
And we finish with 0. So what in the world do these numbers actually stand for?
Let's break it down. 5 is for 5 or more servings of fruits and veggies. A fun way to do this is to try and eat a rainbow of different colors each day. 2 is for 2 hours or less of screen time. A great rule of thumb here, no screens during meals. 1 is for 1 hour or more of active play. And remember, you can split this up into smaller chunks, like 15-minute bursts of fun. And finally, 0. This one's a biggie. 0 sugary drinks. Just stick with water and milk. And hey, if plain water's getting boring, try adding a slice of orange or a few berries to jazz it up.
Okay, let's zoom in on that one from our blueprint, getting kids moving. Kicking off good activity habits early on is huge. Fostering a genuine love for being active, that's one of the best gifts we can possibly give. Now, what's really interesting is that the recommendations actually change as kids get older. For little preschoolers, the goal is about 3 hours of activity spread throughout the day, and that includes all kinds of intensities. But for school-aged kids, the target shifts. They need about 60 minutes or more of that more moderate to vigorous activity every day, mixing in aerobic stuff with things that strengthen their muscles and bones. The payoff is incredible. Stronger bones, a healthier heart, and it even helps with their focus in school. Let's switch gears to a word that is so often misunderstood. When we hear malnutrition, I think most of us immediately picture someone who's underweight. But the reality is actually way more complex than that. So here's the key takeaway. Malnutrition just means improper nutrition. It's an umbrella term that covers both getting too few nutrients, that's undernutrition, and getting too many, which is overnutrition. And that means, yes, someone who is overweight can also be malnourished if their diet is packed with calories, but is missing all those essential vitamins and minerals. And this brings us full circle, right back to those obesity stats we looked at earlier. Overnutrition, taking in too many calories, is a huge driver of obesity. It's a really serious health threat that puts people at a higher risk for chronic diseases, like type 2 diabetes and heart disease down the road. All right, for our last section, we're going to tackle another really critical piece of child wellness, understanding the huge difference between a food allergy and an intolerance, and what it takes to create safe spaces for every single kid. This slide lays out the most important distinction. A food allergy is your immune system overreacting. It sees a food protein as a dangerous invader and launches an attack, which can cause anything from mild hives to a life-threatening reaction. A food intolerance, on the other hand, has nothing to do with the immune system. It's usually a digestive issue that leads to really unpleasant symptoms like gas or bloating, but it's not life-threatening. Now, because little kids often don't have the vocabulary to say, "I'm having an allergic reaction," they might use phrases like this. Or they might say something like, "there's a frog in my throat," or "my mouth feels funny." Being able to recognize what they're trying to tell us is absolutely critical for catching a reaction early.
And this is exactly why being prepared is non-negotiable in schools and daycares. But get this, and this is the part that's really scary. Studies show that about a quarter of the most severe reactions at school happen to kids who didn't even have a known food allergy. That means every single program has to be ready to handle an emergency, not just for the kids with a known diagnosis.
So what does a solid plan look like? Well, it really boils down to these 5 priorities. You've got to manage individual allergies day to day, be totally prepared for emergencies, make sure all the staff is trained, educate the whole community, kids and families included, and finally, do everything you can to maintain a safe environment. It's a full circle approach that gets everyone on the same page.
We have covered a ton of ground today, from that simple 5210 rule to the details of physical activity and food safety. But it all really comes down to building a strong foundation, one healthy choice at a time. So, I'll leave you with this question. Whether you're a parent, a teacher, a caregiver, what is one small, doable change you can make today to help build a healthier future for a child in your life?